a better way, I think, to think about competitiveness is to recognize that there are these two meanings. Again, international competitiveness in trade and investment now means two different things, right? The English language evolves. The first one is well-grounded, is well-connected, right? It's real exchange rates, relative unit labor costs, other things that give well-defined measures of international competitiveness, the competitiveness of U.S. firms in tradable markets. Well-grounded, but policymakers have to exercise substantial caution in connecting this to welfare. To understand that if the U.S. real exchange rate gets stronger, that's not always a good thing, it's not always a bad thing, it really depends. The other meaning of competitiveness is then the broader one from the World Economic Forum and the like, and that really refers to well-being rather than to competition. And so in some sense, it's almost like a synonym for good things. I want to build high-speed rail because that will boost our competitiveness. In some sense, it doesn't really mean that. It means something different. It means I think high-speed rail is a good investment and will boost U.S. well-being. Now, that may be true. That example obviously is not true. It's almost a laugh line. But it's, one could say that, and I guess they do over there, down the road. And so the U.S. language has just evolved. I think it's important sometimes not to continue to throw rocks at this evolution of the language, but to understand that there has been an evolution in the U.S. language, and this new measure of competitiveness, this new meaning of competitiveness, is an evolution. So here I've listed on the slide just a couple of other words that have evolved. The word literally, for example, doesn't mean what it used to mean, right? It often means now just a point of emphasis. So Otter and Katz in the Handbook of Labor Economics is a bit of an old example, but it's a great one. Talk about how research on inequality literally exploded in the 1990s. And obviously no one thinks that there's a danger to graduate students. But it's just saying, look, it really went up by a lot. Obviously, frankly is a signal. Everyone understands when someone says frankly, that usually means the opposite. In person, Kevin and I are exchanging emails. We say, well, let's do this in person. We might both pick up the phone, even though we're not actually in person, but it really means synchronous communication, or maybe higher bandwidth communication. Offline, the same thing. Take something offline, it's to a different venue. So the English language changes, and we just have to understand that change. And for policymakers, this is my last slide, the key is to understand the driving forces behind the changes in competitiveness, not to rely on a single index or a single measure of competitiveness, but to say, well, what's causing it? Why is this measure of competitiveness getting better or worse? And how does that relate to measures of well-being? And then to say, if a policy is good for the domestic economy, and you want to say that boosts our competitiveness, well, I guess I don't have a problem with that. It's just a different definition, a different meaning of competitiveness, and those proposals should be evaluated on their own terms.